Okay, seeing as you made your way to the best mode, I am O Positive, and me and my main man Stanley here are hoping to do a interesting unboxing for you today. I got a package in from Big Bad Toy Store, one of my favorite online suppliers of really cool action figures, which is one of my main hobbies. Have got a interesting unboxing to do, and I really hope you get into it and enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. With that being said, starting in Uncanny X-Men number 139, Wolverine began wearing a costume with more muted colors compared to his various bright yellow and blue Wolverine suits and X-Men uniforms. After John Byrne arrived on the X-Men series, he designed a new costume for Wolverine. The colors were brown and tan, and both the shoulder pads and the tiger stripes were gone. This Wolverine suit proved to be very popular to the point Logan kept it during the majority of the 1980s and up until the early 1990s. Years later, after he recovered his memories, Wolverine used this costume once again at the start of his quest for revenge. After his return from the dead and being reunited with X-Men teammate Cyclops, he donned the brown and tan once more. Wolverine also bore the cult favorite costume while investigating the kidnapping of his friend Signore Salviano. Later in the comics line, Wolverine would wear a modernized version of this costume, the original being designed by John Byrne. Wolverine is not fashion conscious, clearly, but he is enormously proud, and if he's going to wear a costume at all, it would be one of his own design. Presumably, the blue and yellow was government issue, which would explain a lot. And since he rejected Fang's costume, precisely because it was not his own, it makes sense for him to want one that officially declares his independence. A direct quote from John Byrne. And without further ado, flowers for John Byrne, Logan, and issue number 139 of Uncanny X-Men.
My name is Wolverine. I'm the best there is at what I do, but what I do isn't this nice. I know what you're thinking, punk. Question is, can I get Wolverine before he turns me to shish kebab with those claws? Now, Bob, seeing as how these claws are adamantium, the strongest metal known, and can slice through vanadium steel like a hot knife through butter, buddy, you gotta ask yourself, do I feel lucky?
Got any last words?
Yeah, two.
I'm assuming you've made it to the end of the video. I'm really glad that you hung out. Definitely still trying to make those videos a little bit shorter so they can be digestible. Trying to make them into those little bite-sized pieces for everybody so that you can enjoy them and I don't get too long-winded. Wolverine, this costume for Wolverine was my first introduction as a kid to the Wolverine character. I remember seeing him first in comic books on newsstands back when you could get your comic books in newsstands. I don't even know if you can do that anymore. This was the Wolverine that I grew to love as a kid. Meaning now we all know Wolverine is like super, you know, he's A-list superhero right here. It was really enjoyable. Articulation without loss of feature. So this is the re-edit. I just wanted to intersect a little bit because I had a different way I wanted to do my face-to-face with you guys. I wanted to tell a story about how I was kind of like introduced to Wolverine as a comic book character and comic books in general. I mean, like, seriously, man, it had, all right, 85, in between 85 and 89, somewhere around there. I lived with my aunt, and it's one particular day I remember going. I was living in Chicago. I remember going to downtown Chicago. Had to be a fairly nice day because we was walking. I believe we drove down there, but I think we were definitely walking down one of the strips of Chicago. I believe it was State Street. Not really sure. But back then they had newspaper stands. I haven't seen a newspaper stand in anything other than movies, and I don't know how long. So what I'm thinking, what I remember is going to a newspaper stand, seeing just like, out of all the things that was there, you know, like the giant buildings. I'm like 8, 9 years old. Giant buildings all over the place, people everywhere, non-stop movement. Everything's moving downtown Chicago. If you were there in the 80s, you know what I'm talking about, or in the 90s, or in the 2000s, wherever, until everything froze recently. Downtown Chicago, you know, maybe not as crowded as downtown New York or something like that, but definitely busy. We went past a newspaper stand. I glimpsed over at it, and I mean, like, comic books. This man had a wall of comic books behind him. I was done. I was just stuck. I was staring. I begged and pulled. I pulled clothing, and arm sleeve, please, let's go back. 18, let's go back and let's look at these. It was an X-Men graphic novel. I probably shouldn't have had it. It was a little bit more mature. I mean, like, not R X-rated hentai craziness, but it was for a little older audience, maybe like a late teens audience, mid 16, 17. It wasn't for a kid that was like 8 or 9. It definitely wasn't for that age. And that's because of the nature and the complexity of the story. The story arc was kind of graphic. It was a graphic novel, so it wasn't even a normal size comic book with regular paper. It was like top tier everything, and it really hit hard with the relationship between mutants and humans and the hate for mutants and this and that, and it kind of showed Wolverine in this real, like, gritty nature. And that's what stood out for me, and that is why this costume is so memorable to me, because it was like that was that moment, that was that comic book that I turned through all the pages a million times. I don't even own it anymore. I don't know where it is. I was 8. It probably got torn to pieces at some point in time. There's no way an 8-year-old can, take care of a comic book over years and years and years. We don't have that capacity or patience for caring for something at that young age, and you got so much going on. Like, I don't know. That energy that I had in my head for what I wanted to talk to you, the way I wanted to talk to you guys, and express my affection for this character, for this iteration of Wolverine by John Byrne, was like definitely. I had a little bit more in my, when I was thinking this out, I had a little bit more to say. And I wasn't saying it because I was solely sticking to the figure itself. Maybe I can dig up some more interesting stories that aren't weird about, my journey with comic books and action figures, and my obsession, just a crazy obsession. I mean, ever since I can remember, I've always been that person whose first place to visit in a department store is the toy section. It's not the same anymore. I remember being younger and you go to the toy section and it was like people there all the time. Now it ain't that. Toys R Us is no longer with us, so but there's still a few little small spots, places that we go to get this little toy fix that we're into, these action figures and such. And there's so much more to talk about story-wise as far as action figures, where they started. I don't know how in depth I want to get into it, but definitely wanted to give you guys a little bit more energy and talk a little bit more about my personal moment with this John Byrne iteration of Wolverine, and why it was so special to me as a person. you know, not just like me personally, and not just the fact that, oh, look at a toy, you got a toy. You know, I don't want to make it feel like that. So, you know, with that being said, hey, click comment, click like, comment, subscribe, do all those things, and you know, be back.